I suggested that why don't you guys go and talk to Eazy and see if you can make a deal where Dre continues to produce Eazy. For Ruthless, he continues to produce NWA and the other acts.
I was consulting for Ruthless, for Eazy-E, working through Jerry Heller. One day, Dre came in with Suge to my office in Hollywood and simply said they had left Ruthless, were starting their own company called Death Row Records.
It didn't go down the way it was supposed to, and so Eazy had to be persuaded to make some moves to make things happen.
According to court papers, Suge and friends basically came in and told Eric and Jerry Heller Dre was leaving and they couldn't stop them, and that this was not just legal, it was physical, it was personal. The stories that Eric E. told was that they came in with baseball bats, threatened guns.
Under threat of his life and telling him that they would kill his mother and that they were holding me hostage. Under those kinds of duress, got him to sign releases for Dr. Dre.
I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. But when Eazy-E said in the papers that me and the chairman of Sony, Tommy Mottola, was in the room with bats and pipes, he's obviously a liar.
There's no question that we have substantial documentary evidence of a conspiracy here.
Eric Wright, Eazy-E, filed a RICO lawsuit against them. It was the first time RICO had been used in the music business. RICO is a racketeering lawsuit. It's the thing that they use to get the mafia, and they can't get the mafia leaders on anything else. Eazy's lawsuit contended that there was money laundering, extortion, threats, and violent intimidation. Not only was it charged against Suge and Death Row for stealing what was their top producer, Dr. Dre, it was charged against Sony Music. From day one, this label was born amidst the controversy that involved violence.
The initial understanding was that Doc and Dre and Dick and Suge would be partners in this company.
Each one of the artists that started with us at the beginning, I got a lot of love for, and they always will be a part of the family. On the strength that they took that chance. It's not like we had a name out there. It's not like we had a lot of money to give them. The money I gave came out of my pocket.
Back then, Suge was like very behind the scenes and helpful and quiet, humble, non-visible. He didn't like cameras. He was invisible, the invisible man.
His role was to handle the day-to-day business, dealing with the artists, dealing with distributors and record companies and what have you. My job was to go in here and push these buttons and make the records happen.
Everybody was following Dre because people knew that Dre was the man. Like everything that he touched was like, you know, gold or platinum or better.
That's who everyone wanted to work with him. He was actually the most bankable person at that time, pretty much in the industry, from the R&B rap standpoint.
Everybody was taking direction from Dre as far as he knows what he's doing. He just finished doing NWA albums that's double and triple platinum, so you have to have confidence in what you've seen. You watched this man make money.
Warren G was my best friend and Nate Dogg was my best friend. So we formulated 213, and Warren G was the DJ. I was a rapper. Nate Dogg would sing the hooks. We didn't have drum machines back then. All we had was records and turntables and a microphone. When Warren G called me on the three-way, was like, Snoop, I got Dre on the phone, cuz he liked the tape. He wanna work with us, cuz he wanna work with us. I said, nigga, stop lying. And he said, hello? I said, who this? He said, it's Dre. He said, man, that shit was dope, man. I wanna get with you. Come to the studio Monday.
At that time, it was a dream just to be in the same room with Dr. Dre, you know? Dr. Dre wants us to come to the studio where he is. I'd have jogged up there if I didn't have a car.
I wanted to appreciate the game and accept everything that was offered to me and learn and just be a student at the time.
They were housed in my building, so they didn't have a lot of expenses. You have to understand that the greatest expense in making a record is the studio time. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about the rap or hip-hop scenario, so I kind of let them do their own thing.
Some nights we used to stay up there all night and leave till like 5, 6 in the morning. I mean, it had a special vibe up there. You just wanted to be there. Even if you wasn't working on the song, you just wanted to be there because it had that atmosphere. It just was the spot to be at. It was right in the middle of Hollywood, and you know, it was just a place to be for us. And we was young, and we never really had been out of the neighborhood, and you know, we was getting a chance to see it all in bright lights. And this was the same studio that Shalimar, Lakeside, The Whispers, Babyface, The Deal, all of them recorded all their albums in the same studios.
On a business level and on a day-to-day basis, was merely existing. It seemed like they were trying to find somebody to put some money into it or somebody to help them out.
Money was hard to come by back then because there wasn't no structure, there was no label. And Suge Knight did all he could do at the time as far as, you know, go in his pocket, his bank account to get us money. Dre didn't really have no money. He was leaving in WA.
Dick had made a deal with Suge, Doc, and Dre to sell him a recording studio that he owned. That was going to be something that they would own separate from the Death Row label because they wanted to have something that they owned. Suge came along and said he had found somebody to help them finance the purchase of the studio.
It's always been a subject of speculation where they got their original funding, and the FBI's continuing to look into this.
There are so many things you hear about this situation. I tell you this, Mike Harris was firmly planted in the middle of it.
Well, on the news, they used to call Mike the Godfather.
Tonight, the story of a man who tried to murder his best friend. At the same time, he was attempting to win his way into Beverly Hills acceptance.
This is Michael Harris, a man drug agents describe as a major cocaine trafficker. At the young age of 26, he had already made millions of dollars. These are his roots, the streets of South Central Los Angeles, where he started pushing dope on street corners and hung with a blood street gang called the Bounty Hunters. In the drug world, he is known as Harrio.
Mike Harris was a known entity in our community. You know, he was this guy bigger than life because Mike Harris was in jail doing things.
Prior to his incarceration, he was very visible. He had started doing numerous things in the community.
Harris built an organization that distributed cocaine in California, Arizona, Texas, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Missouri, Louisiana, Florida, and New York. Investigators say he dealt so much cocaine, major Colombian drug kingpins like Mario Villabona were obliged to deal directly with Harris. But like a mob godfather, Harris sought to legitimize his illicit fortune and gain Beverly Hills respectability.
I was not a drug dealer. I was a person who decided to sell drugs. But I also, at another point, decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I took those proceeds and invested in various real estate and businesses that turned out to be quite profitable.
Mike Harris had a wonderful background in entertainment. I think he was the first African-American ever to produce a Broadway show that was a smash, and it gave Denzel Washington his start.
Checkmate was the name of the play. The play opened on Broadway. Many of us African-Americans have been on Broadway, on the screen, out front singing and dancing, but very few of us have been there as producers.
I thought he was an entrepreneur in New York. I had no idea that he was in jail.
The first time I met Michael, it was a drug case involving Bo Bennett, Mario Villabona. That trial went and resulted in a number of convictions that went to trial in a federal court. And after that case, Michael, I believe, contacted David Kenner to have him represent him on his appeal.
David Kenner was a longtime Los Angeles criminal attorney. By the late 80s, he had become part of a fraternity of top-flight attorneys that handled a lot of federal cases, a lot of big drug cases downtown. In the course of his legal work, he became Michael Harris's attorney. I think if you look at clients of his over time, David has a habit of getting very close to his clients and getting very involved in his clients' lives, perhaps more so than would be wise for a lawyer.
David just, fell in love with Mike when they became friends. He was, he was a friend to us, I looked at him like family. I was out in LA by myself and he took me in, him and his family would go out to eat. We would do everything together.
He became someone who was a confidant, a friend of Michael Harris's, and also involved in business with Michael Harris.
I think that he's a lawyer who had a lot of money and he represented people who had a lot of money, and it would not be unusual to me for somebody who represented people with money to say, I want to invest.
To achieve the massive task of getting me out of prison, it took not just money but power and the proper timing. At some point, we talked about getting into the entertainment business.
Everybody wants to be in the music business. And the years that I've worked, I've gotten tapes and offers from everyone from politicians, you know, to businessmen who want to be in the entertainment business.
A young man by the name of Eric had told me about Suge's background, and that Suge was aware of my background, and that he was somewhat intrigued behind my past, and he had wanted to hook up with me in some form or fashion.
They started talking, you know, Mike said, you got Dr. Dre, and Suge said, yeah, you know, he a producer.
But once I found out that Suge was in the entertainment business, which I had been contemplating re-entering, I made the hookup, and we talked on the phone a few times.
Mike said, well, we need to meet. And Suge said, well, I got a couple of cases. You know, I can't get in to visit you. So Mike said, no, I got this attorney. He's bad. He can get you in here.
David Kenner brought Suge Knight to see Michael at Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles.
When I asked the question to Suge, what does it actually take, he told me that we could be 50-50 partners for about $1.5 million.
They set down their basic business plan that they would start a company called Godfather Entertainment, and one division of it would be Death Row Records.
What I suggested to David and Suge is that I do not include my name in the corporation, and that these guys could go ahead and do the actual upfront managing and representing of the company. Kenner started off as my guy, watching my back, supposedly, and Lydia was also there to represent my percentage of GF Entertainment, which we decided would be the parent company of Death Row.
One day, I see these two people walk in a building who I'd never seen before, and one was David Kenner, and the other was Lydia Harris.
In the summer of 1991, Kenner started coming around. There was a lot of buzz about this company, a lot of expectations that it could be a successful company. And David was one of the people around at the time making a play to be Suge's partner and to take care of business for Suge, to handle business for Suge.
A couple days after Mrs. Harris and David Kenner came in, things actually changed drastically. Immediately, the studio gets carpeted, things start getting fixed. I'm starting getting presented with money to find apartments for the artists that didn't have any apartments, didn't have any money. I'm also given an allowance for them.
I saw a few little upgrades in the studio, some chairs, some speakers.
And I was also told we'll be getting collect calls, and to accept him and to find Suge where he was and connect him.
We were assigned with them to build an awareness for Godfather Entertainment and to kick off their first vehicle, which is Death Row Records, to the industry.
Norman Winter, in his infinite wisdom, said, let's take the boys into Beverly Hills. Let's stick it in everybody's face. So off to Chasen's.
Let me see you put your hands together and say, oh yeah! Let me see somebody give Dre, Suge, DOC a round of applause. Death Row Records is going to be the record company of the 2000s.
We were thinking about putting in metal detectors at the entrance.
Everyone gets served with subpoenas as an invitation.
You're hereby ordered to appear before the Honorable Dr. Dre and the officers of GF Entertainment as a guest of the court to witness the springing of Death Row Records.
Put your hands together. Come on, y'all, make some noise.
We invited virtually every major record company executive in Los Angeles and New York, and it was so big that we originally planned on spending around 20, 25,000. I think it turned out to be 35 or 50.
They had enough money at that time behind them, and they looked good. For somebody that comes out of nowhere to have a party at Chasen's on Grammy night, which is reserved generally for all the white people. It's also a place that would never be associated with rap music in any way unless it was something co-sponsored by a white group.
The market we're going after, we're mainly for the people. I mean, for us, the West Coast, there's a lot of talent around that guys really don't have the opportunity to have a chance to prove themselves. So as far as GF Entertainment goes, with the studio and the films, we're giving all the youngsters the opportunity from all the neighborhoods where basically we haven't forgot where we came from.
I personally interviewed all of the players that were there.
GF Entertainment is a multimedia company. We have Death Row Records, we have a movie production unit, concerts, we're going to be doing pay-per-view concerts, and all kinds of exciting things.